Deconverted man here. Alex O'Connor skyrocketed himself to fame through cordial discussions with various theists. Uh, Talking to William Lane Craig, he was somehow able to get Craig to talk about his genocide apologetics, extracting from William Lane Craig something that I don't think anyone else could have or would have. He he talked to Peterson, asked Peterson point blank, "What is God?" And Peterson actually tried to say what God was. Alex somehow got Peterson to respond to other questions. Sure, he had to go to great lengths to do it, but he got him to answer a question in a clear-cut way after doing a very bizarre thought experiment, but Alex did that. He just came out of the woodwork, guns blazing, paving a trail, and doing a podcast. Once calling himself Cosmic Skeptic, but then just changing that. I'm just going to be Alex O'Connor, and I'm just, rebrand. That's fine, whatever. And hey, there's money to be made from religion. A lot of money. A lot of money. Maybe more money than there is to be made from skepticism. Even if you get really big and really noticed. Now, I can't prove that Alex is going to convert for money. I can suggest that maybe that's the reason. And honestly, it's the only reason I can think of, because it's not logic that is slowly turning him towards Christianity. No, because there's no logic there at all. Nor is it any evidence or tests. No, it's not. And we'll see that in a moment here. So let me read his little comment here before I begin this short clip he's got. It's 11 minutes, 17 seconds. So after Deconverted Man analyzes it, we're going to be done in, 6-7 months, I guess, Anyways, all right. So he says, not a Christian, by the way. I literally have hours of recent content arguing stringently against Christianity. Would be nice if I could air my agnosticism and take religion seriously without people thinking I'm the next C.S. Lewis. CW. Who the hell is it? So agnosticism, and it's funny that this word comes up because I'm doing my little small scale survey that's gotten a lot of responses, and agnosticism seems to have in the zeitgeist taken on a different meaning than it once had. The meaning it seems that people think it is I don't know. That if you're agnostic, you just don't know. But classically, agnosticism meant that you think that the God question is incoherent, that there's no way to know if there is or isn't a God. And that's what that means. But people have made it be more towards just, I don't know. So I think that this is what he means by agnosticism. Taking religion seriously. Let's think about that for a moment. Taking it seriously. What does that mean exactly? Taking religion seriously. Well, does that mean taking all religion seriously? Because there's another question to ask, and what makes something a religion versus a cult? How big of a following does something have to have for it to be a religion? Does it have to be recognized by the state to be a religion? Is the lobsterist a religion? Even if it's just a religion of 1 or 2 or 3? Even if those people don't actually believe in it. Is Pastafarianism a religion? Is atheism a religion? Well, it's classified as a religion for government purposes, but is it a religion? Because the word religion means something, so then we'd have to figure out what the bleep does religion mean? Not just the dictionary definition, although that might be helpful. What does it mean to Alex? What do you mean, take it seriously? How do you take it seriously? What do you mean by that? Because the claims of religion are quite insane. They're silly on the face of them. Many of the claims made. If you look at the origin story from different religions, you get nonsensical stories that how can you take that seriously? God spent days on the several days on earth, but only one on the entire universe. Huh? It took him an entire day to make the earth. It only took him one day to make the universe, but it took him an entire day to make the earth. And it took him another day to make animals and plants, and then another day to make people. It's like, why did it take him an entire day to do this? How do you take that seriously? How do you take talking animals seriously? And Hinduism, with all its various weird gods, or the Native American religions, how do you take those seriously? How do you take ancestor worship seriously? I don't know. How do you take snake handling seriously? How do you take Jehovah's Witness or Mormons or Scientology seriously? Scientology. How do you take Scientology seriously? Because, well, I'm gonna take it seriously. What do you mean? Why? Because I don't want to upset people. I don't want to offend people. Maybe, I don't know. So I don't know if there's a God. So I'm gonna take that seriously. Okay, that I could understand. I could understand that, taking the idea of God separately from religion, that there is a thing that made all of the universe, and that thing also possesses consciousness because it does for reasons. Okay, yeah, we could take that seriously, I suppose. But religion? I don't know how you take religion seriously. Let's take Islam seriously. Well, we should seriously take Islam to be a threat, but should we take it seriously in considering that it could be true? What do you, it just baffles my brain trying to figure out what you mean by that. But Alex isn't going to clarify. Of course not. The more viewers he gets, the more he attracts. He can lose the skeptical viewers. He can lose the agnostics. That's fine. Because he can then talk to more religious people. And okay, he's debated them and he said things about them. But now I'm going to take it seriously. Okay. Anyways, let's listen to what he has to say.
And I debate whether Jesus was God or whether he even claimed to be God and all of this kind of stuff. But for me, the undeniable thing is that there's this extraordinary historical figure who did something extraordinary. And there's something really weird that happened that caused a bunch of people to start quite early on worshipping him, which is a very strange thing to do to a human being, especially in a Jewish culture. And so, to me, getting at the Gospels from a scholarly perspective helps me to understand who this historical figure was. That's the thing I'm really interested in, almost in the way that somebody might be really interested in Julius Caesar or in...
All right, so something mysterious happened to get all these people to suddenly start believing. It wasn't really that mysterious. It became the state religion. Now, there's claims made about how many Christians there were before it became a state religion, that it became a state religion because there was a lot of Christians, or because it was just useful to do that so that the guy that was in charge could move the state closer to a location that was closer to the enemy that he wanted to be closer to, and it was the political thing to do. He didn't care that it was Christianity, it just served his interests. Who knows? There's all sorts of debate about that. I'm no historian. But strange? What do you mean strange? Bunch of people believe the story. A lot of people believe the story. That's not strange. Not if they are encouraged to spread the idea of the story and if other religions aren't doing a good job. Now, what do we have during Roman times? Okay, we have Christianity, which is a developing new, interesting religion, new story that's just come out, hot on the presses. We've got Judaism, but that's for the Jews. You have to be born into that. Boring. And you've got the Roman things with all their weird gods, but they just stole their gods from the Greeks. So that's kind of a known story. It's kind of boring. Then you have the weird pagan stuff that's just a mishmash of this, that, and whatever. And there's no central theme. There's no story there, or if there is a story, it's not really codified. And by the way, we don't have, I don't think, any Roman missionaries. We don't have people going around trying to convert people to believing in the Roman gods. It's just something that people believe in. Somebody was telling the stories until that didn't become profitable. The church made money. People came to have sex with the women and the little boys, and and pray and make their offerings, and then hear the stories that are familiar, and so it was part of the culture. But not everybody was into that. This news story, everybody could be part of it. Everybody could be part of this new story. So that's exciting because it's a new story. So it's exciting there. And then it's exciting that anyone can join. It's not like, it's more family oriented. And so the zeitgeist was shifting away from, maybe this, having sex with all these women and little boys, and maybe women were getting kind of tired of that and bugging their husbands or men in general, perhaps. We don't know. I mean, that's all pure speculation because this is lost to history, but just going on some general basic ideas of humanity and how humans work, it's not surprising that a shift in public view would come and the religion of the time would play into that. But, we can push a little bit on that. We, encourage families, encourage unity. Well, first encourage people leaving everything behind to join us because it's a cult. And then once we're established with a few members, we're going to shift now to encouraging families because, well, we need more people. And the fact that the message changed doesn't negate the original cult members. They'll stay on board because, hey, more people are here. And more people is better. And now we've got some money to be made. And now we've got power to have once we have some money coming into our coffers. And by the way, we're going to borrow the Jewish idea of giving 10%, but we're just going to change how that 10% works from all your animals and livestock to a less greedy proportion of 10% and just make it money. That's a lot easier. That's a few coins. Oh man, instead of my best animals, now I don't have to be somebody that has animals to be part of it. That's also a good incentive to join it. I get all this social status. I get all these, fuzzy feelings that I do. And so, yeah, that's why it spread. It's not mysterious. It's not unexplainable. It's human nature at work. Plus, again, we have people promoting it. We have early Christian missionaries going out and telling people, whether that's the apostles, if you believe in them or whatever, or whoever was listening to the story and being told, hey, go and share this, go and share the good news. Jesus died for your sins. Tell people that, But the other religions didn't have that. Judaism didn't have that. They didn't want more people to come in. You were born a Jew. If you wanted to become a Jew, you could, but you'd have to go and ask the rabbi, and the rabbi's supposed to turn you away 3 times. And most people wouldn't stand for that, wouldn't deal with that, wouldn't want to do anything with that unless they were getting married into the faith or whatever reasons. Maybe they really like the Jewish lifestyle or something like that. But it's not a converting religion. It's not a missionary-based religion. So Christianity had missionaries, and the other religions of the time didn't. So it is no shock that the force that had salespeople for it succeeds, and the other religions in that area don't succeed because they don't have missionaries, or maybe they don't have as many missionaries, or maybe the missionaries aren't as impassioned as these missionaries are, because they're very passionate, because it's a new story to tell people that they haven't heard before. There is no mystery here. Mystery as if what? Miracle? Is that what you're hinting at by the word mystery, Alex?
Or in, whether the Iliad, whether the Trojan War really happened, and whether that kind of stuff. I sort of take this.
Okay, so Julius Caesar, the Iliad, whatever, Trojan War. These things aren't supernatural. So sure, they could have happened and or existed or whatever, and maybe the story's been embellished, but nowhere during the Trojan War did the horse magically start levitating into the sky. But over with the Allah group, a guy riding a horse did magically levitate into the sky. So, I can believe that people packed themselves into a wooden horse and got them to, sneak that in. I cannot believe that a horse took off into the sky flying around, because one is pretty mundane, the other isn't. Although some people did deify Julius Caesar in a weird parallel way to how they deify Jesus, as if there's certain writing similarities, but they just couldn't sell Caesar as well as they could Jesus, because Caesar, he wants to deal with Caesar. Jesus is offering something intangible after you die that's way better than anything that Caesar can offer you. So the deification of Caesar didn't catch on, but the deification of Jesus sure did. And maybe they knew the stories of Julius Caesar's deification attempts and were like, hey, let's just borrow those and use those. Anyways.
This approach.
That feels to me like that was your point of entry.
Yes. Yeah.
But you've had such a journey, and you've met so many amazing people, and you've debated so many different angles and things. Yeah. Where's it led you to?
It's led me to, well, I used to be quite on board with the new atheism stuff. I've spoken.
Okay, so Alex, along other apologists, and I don't know, hopefully no atheists. Atheists should know their own history. Goodness sake, atheist. If you don't believe in a God and you say the word new atheist, smack yourself upside the face. This is a label attached to us by the religion. It wasn't one that I think we adopted. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. There isn't anything new about atheism. Hitchens, Dawkins, and the other horsemen whose names always get forgotten, 4 horsemen of atheism. What is it? Let's see. Hitchens, Dawkins, Harris, Daniel Dennett. Daniel Dennett's the one that I always forget for whatever reason, and he's now gone and shifted off the mortal coil. Harris is still around. Dawkins is still around. Hitchens also shuffled off the mortal coil. So we're down to 2. And some might say that we've kind of lost Sam Harris and that Dawkins is kind of wonky too. But whatever. They wrote books that got really well noticed, and people started calling them new atheists. I don't know if that was religious people. I don't know that was them. I think it was the religious people that said, but whatever. Okay, so that's what new atheism is. We should know our own history, right? I'm pretty sure. Now, why am I saying I'm pretty sure while I'm complaining about we don't know our history? Because it's hard to figure it out. We didn't keep track of it. Yeah, what's the origin of new atheism? It's rooted in the post 9/11 era. Okay. So yes, but who termed it? Who made the term? Do we know? Let's see. Come on. Coined by journalist Gary Wolfe. The Church in a 2006 Wired magazine titled "The Church of Non-Believers." So maybe he's the start of it. He also wrote the Who Censored Roger Rabbit. Okay, but is he atheist, skeptic, believer? What's his religion? Do we know? Let's see. Faith, God, nothing. Okay, well, I don't know that. Well, at any rate, so, okay, we've got something. We know somebody, he probably coined it, so I don't know if he's a believer or not. All right. Okay, cool. Now I know some more of my own history. Anyways, but the term new atheist, I think, now this should have been part of my poll, but it wasn't because I didn't think about it, is whether or not people like that term or not. But I don't think I've heard a single atheist refer to themselves in this way. So, anyways, whatever. It's just it's something to complain about. So I did,
About this a lot on my show.
What does that mean?
You know, like the sort of Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, it was
Yeah.
really popular, the debates that they were doing, they called it new atheism.
Yeah.
And it was this body of like atheist thought with the God delusion, this kind of stuff, which was really popular. And it had this sort of quite strident, debate me bro kind of attitude. And I was really swept up by that. I thought that was really exciting and cool. And I was beginning to sort of shake that off and grow up a bit, essentially.
Okay, so there's the tilting poisoning of the well there. Grow up a bit. What do you mean by that, Alex? What do you mean grow up a bit? That sounds very poisoning of the well to me. Because it suggests that the debate me bro, which is in and of itself a rather piss poor terminology to use in reference to debates or why people are debating, kind of not taking debates seriously there, Alex. But whatever, that's internet lingo, this whole bro or bro thing that's developed, kind of a intelligent lowering effect that the internet has had on all of us, I suppose. 6-7 for those of you who want to do that meme, whatever. But at any rate, so yeah, so he grew out of it. When I grew up, I left it behind. It's so childish, those sort of debates. The same debates that you were doing against Christianity, but you didn't grow out of it because you have debated Christianity. So you're saying their style of debate is childish and yours is the growing up version? I don't know what this means, but it means something to Alex. Because otherwise, well, why would he say it otherwise? I don't know, but it does seem like he's trying to poison the well. Anyway, so just a thought.
And then running the podcast, what I've realized is this is far more interesting and intricate, and I would say plausible than I'd given it credit for before. So
it's far more plausible than I give it credit for before. What was? So you went away from the debates because you were grown up now, and Christianity? Why Christianity? Why not all the other religions out there? Why not Islam? Why not Buddha? Why not, fill in the blank? Well, Christianity is the most popular. So that's who they debated the most. So it's easy to focus on the one that's the most popular, right? Now, I focus on it only because I was a Christian. Many deconversions are from Christianity. So it's kind of a, it's like, well, this is what we know, so that's what we're going to talk about. And there's a few out there that talk about Islam more or focus completely on it or whatever. And, hey, the more the merrier. But he has considered this religion more plausible. Why? What reason do you have for that? There has to be some logical reason. Is there evidence or some test that you found that made you think it was more plausible? Because for something to be plausible, possible, that means there has to be something to indicate that it's true at some level. So that would be evidence of some sort. Empirical testing, methodology, some sort of system that we can utilize on it. Or at the very least, a sound argument. So I'm sure that after Alex has said that it's more plausible, that the next logical step for Alex to take here would then be to explain to us what that plausibility looks like, right? And not to go on, I don't know, personal accounts or because people, made it seem cool or anything like that. I don't know what he's going to say. But the logical step would be for Alex to talk about what made it seem more plausible.
I'm still not a Christian. Some people say to me, like,
it's a funny word though, that anyway.
Yeah.
Like I'm less and less certain about the word.
Yeah.
You know what somebody said to me the other day? You're like this. The period of greatest growth ever in the history of the church was from 33 AD to 350.
Yeah.
And during this time, there was no church buildings.
Yeah.
No sermons.
Yeah.
But no singing.
Yeah.
And no Bible.
Yeah.
And like we get very tied up in all of those things and the labels and even the phrase Christian.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not sure where for me it feels quite like man-made, these sort of words.
Yeah, and that is where I can definitely agree with, especially a Christian of your kind, which is to say someone who will say that and recognize that. Because some people place a lot of stock, particularly Catholics, and they place a lot of stock in church tradition and the traditions that developed after Nicaea. And I look at that with a similar kind of man-made skepticism. And
so the thing that I said that was logical for him to do, he didn't do that. They instead, and I guess we can blame who's this guy? Bear guy? What's his face? Bear Grylls, I guess. Apparently is the guy he's talking to. I'm going by what the comments say. I don't know who the guy is. I've heard of that name, Bear Grylls. I don't care who this is. Doesn't matter. It's funny to think that's who it is. So whether it is or isn't, that's where we're going to go with. But he shifted the conversation, so maybe it's his fault. But Alex could have said, let me talk about this for a moment, because I said that it's more plausible, more possible than I did before. And here's why I think that. Alex didn't do that. He just switched the conversation to the next thing. Now we're going to talk about how man-made it all seems. What? Church? Christianity? The word Christianity, that's man-made. Well, yeah. And so is the religion. Well, the Catholic Church is all wrapped up in the traditions that are man-made. Right. And the church that is man-made. Right. And the Bible, which is man-made, right? But Christianity developed so fast without these things. So it spread more, it had more growth during this time. Right. Okay. So less labels that are man-made. Okay. So you don't have a label anymore because every label that you can attach to yourself is man-made. There is no non-man-made label. So what are you now? Well, nothing. I'm no label. I have no label. There is no label. Cool. What do you believe in? Well, I don't believe in anything man-made. Okay. So what do you believe in? Nothing. Well, what do you mean, nothing? No, well, I believe in, things that are not man-made. Oh, like the planet Earth or something? Like, yeah, I believe in that, but not science, because that's man-made, I mean, how silly and stupid would that go? So you're complaining about labels of stuff. Man, things were so much better back in the days. This is kind of the back in the day. I wish religion were disconnected from the church and money and, the traditions that they have and all the things that makes it a religion. I just wish that religion was not religion and instead was, kind of more new agey. Whatever. Take what you want, believe what you like, and the rest is aside. Cool. Lots of Christians do that. Lots of believers do that. You can call yourself whatever the hell you want. There's no copyright on the word Christian or anything else for that matter. I've had people explain that they're a Christian except that they don't believe in the Trinity. They're a Christian, but they don't believe in the Holy Spirit. They're a Christian, but they don't believe that Jesus came back from the dead. They're a Christian, but they just mean that they like what Jesus said. Well, some of it, so they want to try to kind of mimic some of his nicer attitude towards people, and that's what they mean by Christian. And well, what the hell does it mean to be a Christian? Well, it says what it does in the Bible. Cool. I've never found anyone with all those beatitudes, so I guess there are no Christians then. But what it means to be a Christian is, well, it's up for toss because it's whatever you want it to be. Well, you have to believe in Jesus, do you? Who says? You have to believe he was real? Do you? Where does it say that? You have to believe he died for your sins. Do you? Oh, yeah, that's what it says. Well, that's what you say it says. And somebody else doesn't care that says that. Just take and choose what you want. And sure, the religion will grow because it will mutate. But New Age fades away. The New Age movement came and went, but it's still kind of there. But it's not, it was popular for a while. Lots of people were attracted to it, signed on board, got the crystals, did the whatever nonsense that they did. And some of them stuck with it, and some of them kind of like gave it up, and now it's just kind of a hobby, kind of background noise. I knew a guy that slept with crystals on his bed, which was just so ridiculous to me. He put these little crystals around him in this nice little oval. I was like, yeah, that's nice. Some rocks around you, so if you roll around, you'll roll on top of the rock there. Helped him to sleep, I guess, believing that these crystals were doing whatever the fuck they were doing, But New Ageism isn't a new idea. So New Ageism Christianity isn't a new idea either. That Alex or Bear or whoever wants that version of Christianity, cool, you can do it, but it won't have political pull because there won't be a church there to get money. Your view will be your view alone. There won't be a church to go to, so you won't have the community. And the missionary work will be you versus everybody else, trying to convince them that your ideas are correct and you're the only voice saying those ideas. So it won't be a successful movement. It will die with you, which is fine by me, but you still believe in nonsense until you die, and that's not fine by me. But by all means, new ageism Christianity, sure, why not?
I think to myself, yeah, like it also gives me license to when I look at the New Testament and I think, some scholars think that Paul maybe didn't write that letter and that's a big problem. But for someone like me, it's like, who cares? If I decide that Paul didn't write First Timothy, then I'll just look at the rest of it and I'll try to work out what came between the lines. A good friend of mine said to me once, when there's all this discussion about whether we have the real words of Jesus and whether the Gospels are accurate and whether it's all apocryphal stories, he said that because these were written from early church traditions, Jesus was a real man who was doing real things. We can still know a lot about the character of Jesus. He said, imagine if, for example, have you heard of the Churchillian drift? Where
Okay, so this is just pure outright nonsense. So we're going to base things on tradition. And we can know that that means that Jesus was real because, well, we can't. Sure, Alex, just say whatever nonsense you want. Go ahead.
where like quotes get attributed to Churchill, even though he never said them. Same thing happens with C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
And he said, imagine if the only information you had historically about Churchill was a book of apocryphal quotes that he never actually said, but that people believed he said.
Then that means that that version of Churchill, which is the only version that people know about, doesn't exist, nitwit. So when people say, hey, look, we got all this stuff from church tradition based on, well, we don't know what Jesus said, if he said anything at all, or even existed at all. But we know people said that he said stuff, even though we don't know that he said anything. But we know that people wrote that down. And the church has decided, we like this, so we're going to keep that. We don't like that, so that's not part of the canon, because we're going to decide. The same church that you were complaining about earlier, Alex, that you said, hey, without that church, we had all this growth. Well, without the church, you had disconnected ideas, and it was the church that codified it and solidified it into a single book with canon and non-canon, apocryphal. Okay, so we're going with Churchill. Okay, imagine if you had a book with all these quotes attributed to Churchill. That means that Churchill doesn't exist. Oh, but there was still a real Churchill. That's nice. Can't know anything about that guy because I don't have anything about him. I just have the fake quotes that I know are fake, that I know I should be skeptical about, and I know nothing of the real man. Nothing. Well, that's what people thought about him. I don't give a flying fuck what people think about him. I want to know about him, not what people thought about him. So I don't have the words coming from the horse's mouth. I have the words coming from somebody else that wrote about the horse saying stuff when the horse didn't actually say anything. And by the way, who knows if there was a horse anyways? And he wasn't even Mr. Ed. Come on, people. Come on. So yeah. Well, just because it's all made up, that doesn't mean that Churchill wasn't real. Well, but we have evidence that Churchill was real. But do we have any evidence that Jesus was real at all? Well, we have the writings, and that's it. Okay. And the writings are all things we can't trust. They're all based on what the church wanted to be true, stories about stories, not firsthand accounts, or even if they were, well, we're gonna, like there was a firsthand account, but there wasn't, not that eyewitness would matter to me because I'd still say, well, yeah, that eyewitness could lie or just be wrong because people believe weird stuff. So I don't, So the only thing we have is the fake story that we know is fake, but we should still believe the guy was real because why, Alex?
You'd still get a pretty good picture of the kind of person Winston Churchill
That's
was.
worst case scenario. You still get a
Exactly.
pretty good.
You're still getting an image. And so I'm really interested in the scholarly stuff and like, well, did Jesus really say that? Was this an interpolation? Blah, blah, blah. Is this a translation thing? But
I'm not interested in any of that because there's no way to know what Jesus said. There's just speculation. And you said, well, we would kind of know Churchill. We got all these quotes that people attributed to Churchill, but none of those quotes are really what he said. Again, we're going to stick with this metaphor because that's what he gave us. So Churchill somehow is lost to time, except for the things people thought about him and thought that he said. Okay, so we can't know anything about the Churchill. And then, on top of that, because we already have a problem, but at least it's mundane. Yeah, he was an ordinary man. Well, maybe extraordinary. He did some amazing things. Okay. But then somebody's like, yeah, and then Churchill turned inside out, and all of his guts were outside of him, and people were freaking out. But then he turned it right side in again, and he was back to normal. He only did it for 2 minutes, but that's what he did. And you're like, well, that doesn't belong here. And they're like, no, we like that story, so that's gonna stay in there. But it doesn't belong in there. Yeah. But the rest of us really like that story, so it's gonna stay in there. And now you're in the minority, and we're in the majority. We all thought that that's a cool bit about the story. Hey guys, did you hear about when Churchill's eyeballs came out and walked around on the ground? No, that sounds cool. Let's add that to the story. Hey, you know that Churchill took off his arm, and his arm transformed into a wagon that then flew into the sky, rescued some people, and flew back, and then turned back into his arm? His arm was a transformer. Oh, that's kind of crazy. We're going to leave that one out. Oh, okay. But imagine that. So basically, at that level where Churchill is now doing things that no human has ever done before, we should start being like, well, now we're going to have to doubt this a little bit more. But then it gets worse, because then people start saying, actually, we're going to explain how Churchill is able to do this because he wasn't human. He is actually from the future, and he's an alien from a different planet whose technology far surpasses our own. So that's how he was able to do all this. What evidence do we have that that's true? Don't worry about it. We're going to take this seriously, though. We're going to take this story about Churchill seriously because, the scholarly view of, did Churchill really say, look at my arm become a wagon so I can save people? Or did Churchill just say, wagons are really good to save people with? Or did Churchill mean by wagon, he actually meant the stoic nature of a man, and that we should, who the fuck cares, man?
The thing that's most fascinating to me below all of that is like, who was this guy, and what was he doing to cause all of this? Even if it's a bunch of confusion and confused timelines, and even if some stories got in there that shouldn't have got in there, the fact that this scramble to write all of this down and turn it into
even with the drift.
Exactly, it's still
I think
extremely interesting.
If we could time travel, you would be one of the rough gang. So would I.
Yeah,
I don't think you'd be. I mean, even though you kind of like the headlines have used like, professor, sort of Oxford. Well, are you a professor?
I'm not a professor. No.
You're very clever.
What the fuck are they talking about now? Okay, if you could time travel, it would be, I'd love that. That'd be cool. But of course, you'd have to desync yourself from the rest of time. Otherwise, you affect time when you go into the past. because your mere presence would affect particles. And if chaos theory is true, those particles would affect other particles, and then that would cause something to happen that's big. And so your mere presence in the past changes the past, and then that causes a paradox because you weren't in the past, in the original timeline, but now you are. So you have to make it so that you're not really in the past, but you're kind of like desync from the past, but still able to see the past. But at any rate, the reality of how it would work aside, if you could see in the past somehow, like the viewing screen in, oh, what was that movie? That guy, he pointed a laser at the screen. And, oh, yeah, whatever. Anyways, they had a screen that could look into the past. Okay, if we had that, that'd be cool. You could watch as people were like writing stuff down and be like, let's go back and see who wrote that first. Okay, now we know that guy. Let's keep going. And you just find people, writing stuff down. And eventually you'd have somebody be telling this other person, okay, here's what you write, blah, 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 blah. Man, this is boring stuff, but I'm really into it. I mean, hey, be into whatever you're into. And then you're like, okay, cool, let's follow that guy. And then you follow that person, and they got that story from this person. And man, the story sure has changed, but this is still, And then finally you're like, here's where it all started. And you're like, where the hell is Jesus? Huh. He's not here. Isn't that interesting? It's just this dude going around telling this story. Huh. But isn't that amazing that that's where it all started from? I guess that'd be cool. But you know what? I guarantee you, even if you had that machine and you could prove that it was able to show history, there would be people that say, nah, that's made up. That's not real. Because there's still a Jesus, he really existed, and that machine was just a trick by Satan. It was demons. That guy, that's AI. It's fake news. You'd still have people that believe, despite the evidence, because we have evidence that most of the Bible is not true. With the stories of Jesus, there's not any evidence to show that it isn't true per se, but there's reasons to suspect that. One, and this is a kind of a big one, there's no coherent Jesus timeline at all. That's kind of important if you want to establish that somebody actually existed. So, all we have is stories about this guy that we don't know when. It's just, I don't know why that's interesting to Alex, but whatever. Okay, there's no logic there. There's no evidence there. It's just really interesting. Okay.
Do you know what I mean? That could potentially put you into the Pharisee type thing. Right. But you are the opposite. You are what you would have been running wild with Jesus, I think.
Yeah. I like
and also I sort of always got the feel with Jesus. He loved the challenge. He loved the riposte. He loved the mental, verbal,
You got that feeling. Yeah, I mean, you can get all sorts of feelings from reading those books and stories. That doesn't make it true that he did anything or said anything. And Jesus, he flipped over the tables and the thing. That's a cool story. Whether it happened or not, it's a cool story. It's like, yeah, stick it to the man, Jesus. Yeah, knock down those tables in the sanctuary and that are just there to make money. Yeah, fight the power. Huzzah! Like when Malcolm X, he put his fist in the air, and his fist turned into Optimus Prime. That was amazing. That was the most amazing, most powerful thing that Malcolm X ever did. That when his fist, I remember this very clearly. I saw it on TV. His fist, and I kid you not, this was before Transformers cartoon. That's where they got it from, by the way. They got it from Malcolm X's hand. His right hand, mind you, turned into Optimus Prime. The head of Optimus Prime. And then the hand spoke and said, freedom is the right of all sentient beings. And then it launched off into the air and exploded, and his hand reformed, and that's what Malcolm X did. And that was just so amazing, right? I'm going to write that down. Let's see if anyone believes it in a few hundred years. Maybe they will, because people believe in nonsense. And we do it. We all do it. But why? Well, because it's a cool story, man. But it's got to have some semblance of reality. It can't be that extreme, at least not at first. You can get to that level, but you can't introduce that level. That's why Scientology, they were pissed when South Park told the world about what they really believed, because you weren't supposed to know that until you were up in the echelons of Scientology. That was secret knowledge you were supposed to gain over time. And the Gnostic version of the Bible, if you haven't checked that out, definitely should. My favorite part in the Gnostic telling is the talking cross, because I think that's pretty darn cool. The hook of religion is story. And we love stories. We love to tell stories. We tell each other stories. We tell ourselves stories. We make sense of the world through poetry and art. But we can also make sense of the world through logic, reason, and science. We don't have to rely on faith or feelings. We can use something that is shown to work, like logic or science. And by logic, I mean informal logic and formal logic. Both of these have a rooted system that can be shown to function. The sciences, the methodology of science, whether it be investigation and data collecting and getting that data checked by other people and rechecked and checked again to understand it, to categorize it. That's one way we can know things, because it works really well. We can test things and then test them again and again and again to understand how they work and why they work and the way that they work and what all that means. Repeated testing. And that's part of the methodology of science as well. In fact, I dare say informal and formal logic could very well belong to science. But you also have feelings. And feelings are things that people have. And you can understand those feelings, again, through science. So, yeah, there really isn't anything more than that actually can get us to the truth. Epistemology, how do we know it's true? Well, it's very simple for me. Empirical evidence, repeatable test, a sound argument. One of those things, or all three, is even better. But if you have any of those, great. Now, I don't hear Alex explaining any of that here. I don't hear him say what made it more plausible, other than he just likes the story. I like when Jesus did this or that. You like the story where he did this and that. I like Iron Man. Yeah, Iron Man's pretty cool. I like when he flew into the air the first time in his first suit. That was pretty cool. I like the second time when he built the more mechanized suit and he flew around and he kept landing and getting the spray sprayed on. That was funny. That was good stuff. Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, but I like the first Iron Man. So that's, yeah. But Iron Man doesn't exist. Well, but people say all sorts of stuff about Iron Man, and the guy was played by a real human. Yeah, but Iron Man doesn't exist. But he could have. No, he couldn't have. Because that's not how reality functions. All right, Alex, you got anything else? 5 minutes, damn.
Illogical challenges.
There's a lot of jousting, yeah, a lot of
jousting and brilliant sort of responses that have never been better. You know, whether it's
no, actually, when the Pharisees, so-called Pharisees, which are painted to be the bad guys, they don't challenge Jesus because they're painted to fail. They are written to fail because the winner of this is writing the story. Actually, who knows if there were Pharisees? I don't know, but whatever. You write in a bad guy, and then you write the bad guy that fails. Sure, yeah, anyone can do that. It's a villain. You have a villain. You have an antagonist. And they say to Jesus, well, do this. And then Jesus is like, yeah, I could do that, but instead I'm going to say this really snippy comeback instead. Now, why didn't Jesus just, I don't know, do some insane miracle to pwn the Pharisees? Like, I don't know, he could have turned one of their heads into a banana. That would have been pretty damn impressive. Well, yes, but it's cooler that Jesus beats them just with words and not with the magic. It makes them seem intelligent. Seems more relatable. I could do that. I'm a normal guy. I don't have the magic that Jesus does, but I could pwn them with quoting the Bible at them and showing how their understanding of the Bible was actually wrong. Haha. Of course, that's how you write it. Now, you could write it the other way, too. You could have him do magic, and that would have been cool as well. Yeah, I would have thought, you know, again, if God is really trying to prove to humanity that this is God, that Jesus could have just been like, see, yeah, I can do that, do the thing, and be like, here's that magic you were asking me to do. Here you go, bing! And by the way, also in the Bible it says blah, 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 which you should know about, and now you're going to explode because I'm God. Okay, anyone else? No? Okay, all right. You know, fly around, show people, you know, but God is weird like that. He kind of wants humanity to know that he's God, but he also doesn't want humanity to know he's God, because Jesus did some miracles sometimes around some people, but he didn't go around the entire world to show off. No. He stood in one location to tell people about that and show off his powers to a limited number of people so that those people could tell everybody else about this. Because if you're God, well, that just makes sense. Why would you show everybody all at once that you're God? I mean, that might cause less confusion. You don't want that. That would make too much sense. You gotta hide yourself to humanity that you want to understand because you see it. But let's take it seriously.
It's in should we pay our taxes to Caesar or not? You know, the Pharisees are trying to trip him up.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, sort of that response of just well, whose head is on the coin? You know, pay to him and pay to God what is God. It's sort of brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant that they wrote it this way. Yeah, Iron Man's a cool story, bro. And
yeah, there's a brilliant
I would think that I see a beautiful alignment. Actually, I think if we would go back in time travel, you'd be running wild with him.
Well, if the science ever gets there,
if you went back in time, you might not even find Jesus at all. You might just find a dude that invented Jesus. I mean, as far as I can tell, that's all you need. You don't need Jesus to start the thing. You just need somebody to make up the story about Jesus to start the thing. And the name doesn't even have to be Jesus either. That can change too. Anyways, whatever.
And we managed to go back in time. When people say, you know, where would you go?
Yeah, where would you go? Come on, what would you do?
Of course you'd go to meet Jesus.
I love it. What point? Where would you go?
I don't know. Yesterday and tell myself the lotto numbers. You know, maybe go back to when I was 8, because I drew my time machine way back then, and I put it in my desk that I had outside, and I was the only one that messed with that desk. That was my desk. Nobody else messed with it, and nobody would have wanted to. Why would they? But I kept that drawing in there. I put the drawing of the time machine in that desk, and the next day it was fucking gone. So obviously my future self stole my drawing. So obviously when I go back in time, I have to steal my drawing from myself. And then I'll go see if Jesus really existed, even though I know the outcome of that. And then I go, back to this, T1 point of the universe so I can see what that was like and see if I can find God there, which I won't, but, that'd be kind of cool. And, then, of course, the whole lotto winning and, becoming the ruler of the universe and all that stuff that I could do with the time machine. Anyways...
Would you go after the resurrection, or would you want to be there at the beginning? What about in the 17 years?
That's interesting.
What resurrection?
I think that the moment that you'd want to witness, if you could only have 5 minutes, would be the moment of the crucifixion. And the reason is...
watch him die. Yes, let's go watch a man die with our 5 minutes. That's what we want to do. Why? Why would you want to do that? You could go watch somebody get killed that's gonna get killed in death row. Why the hell would you want to watch that? What the fuck are you talking about, Alex? What kind of madness is this?
That you would see that this was a man, the crucifixion happened, you would see whether the curtain tore, whether the sky opened, all of that kind of stuff, and it would give you...
Okay, it didn't. Okay, the curtain didn't tear. That was a story. The Jewish people of the time would have fucking noticed that, and somebody would have written that down. But nobody did, because that didn't happen, because that's a story. The sky opened. What the hell does that mean? The sky opened. How does sky open? What the hell does that mean? No, these things didn't happen. There was an earthquake. No, there wasn't. Nobody recorded that either. The sun got dark. There was an eclipse. Nope, nobody said that happened either. But, just pretend, Alex. Why not?
All of that. I mean,
But they keep finding evidence for, the, I think in the sort of, the star stuff, and they said there was
like the solar eclipse.
The solar eclipse that I've actually done. It's the exact kind of
That's really interesting.
They found that evidence. They did? Really? They found the evidence that happened? They did? Cool. Citation? Hello? Hello? Citation? Where did they find evidence of those? Did they find evidence for solar eclipse? Jesus. I don't know. I must have missed that. Let's see. Let's see. Well, let's see what Google has to say about that. Because, they found the evidence. So, there's no way that that's just something he said, right? That's just, oh, shit. No evidence does not support. But that's just AI. AI could be wrong. Just because AI thinks that evidence isn't there. But okay, look. All right. Modern scholars comes to the outside of the New Testament, although no copies of reference account. Okay, so there's reasons but did a solar eclipse, the moon have been the wrong side of Earth at Passover, making it impossible. But just because it wasn't, that doesn't cite wait, okay. Lunar eclipse according to NASA. Okay, all right, here we go. This is, New York Times, New York Post. What do you guys have to say about this? Oh man, here it is. This must be what he's talking about. Get out of here, stupid commercial. Okay, all right. What do they have to say? A jaw-dropping discovery by NASA led to okay. All right, come on. Lunar eclipse turned the moon red, but it didn't. Wait. Turned red, but they didn't say it turned red. They said it turned dark. Okay, from noon to 3, there was darkness. Okay, yeah. So the eclipse theory floated by Oxford, came just in time for Good Friday. Yeah, okay. They mention it. Okay, it's an echo. Yeah, okay, the sun. Okay, but that's not like, yeah, but that's like a different thing. And then the NASA's data. But where is this? Like, can you link to? Wait, where's this? Wait. Well, okay, so where's the NASA thing? Like, you're saying that NASA said this, but where's this? Like, I don't know. NASA, let's see. NASA, how do we say this? Solar eclipse, NASA, Jesus, I don't know. Okay, let's see. NASA supports the theory of the lunar eclipse on April 3rd. Okay, all right, here we go. Okay, but blood red. Oxford research used NASA's astronomical data to identify a partial lunar eclipse. Okay, that wouldn't have been the sky darkening for that long, though. Occurred shortly after sunset, giving the moon a reddish hue, but then that doesn't match the Bible. But then, okay, it's distinct from a solar eclipse. Okay, so this would be during. Wait, but then that would be. Wait, but that would be at night, not like it would be. Or wait, what? That'd already be dark then. So then that wouldn't be as cool because the sky going dark is daytime. Like, right? Like, so what are you talking about, NASA? What are you talking about? Damn it. Tell me what you're talking about. Yes. Turn to blood after Jesus' crucifixion. Wait, where does it say that in Christian texts? What? Okay. Okay, so it's a different thing. So maybe. So what you mean by this is we have an event that kind of sort of lines up, but not really, because the text said that the sky went dark. But if it's already nighttime, I don't know. The sky's already dark. So other texts say that the moon turned to blood. That may be in reference to this, which, I mean, that's not as powerful as a solar eclipse, which is what I was saying. Like, that's not recorded. A solar eclipse would have been noticed. A lunar eclipse, a blood moon, that's not like very newsworthy. So that people didn't record that makes sense to me. But then that means the story that says that the sky darkens can't be right, because the sky is already dark because it's fucking nighttime, because otherwise you don't have a moon out. But it matches some of the text, but not all of the text. So it matches some stories, but not other stories. And that's what they think proves the story happened. I don't know. It's just me. They're like, hey, the moon turned red. Hey, let's say that's when Jesus died. And they just, decided that that's when Jesus died, because that's like, we link it to that event. I don't know. Just saying. Anyways, so that was a deep dive into, by the way, Alex. This is from more Alex O'Connor, his channel called that. I guess it's him or somebody that runs it, 0 citations at all for that. So no logic or skepticism on display from Alex when Bear said that. Where? When did this happen? Then he could have talked about NASA. It's a lunar eclipse, not a solar eclipse. Oh, okay, so it's different than the Bible story said. Well, it's covered in this, in Joel. They said the blood moon and over here, but not in these Gospels, so they got that wrong. But so it's the daytime in some of the Gospels, but it's nighttime in the other Gospels. Yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah, but it's still cool that it happened, right?
It's really interesting. And also that moment is kind of also to see the first ever Roman Christian. Well,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
The centurion
Truly, this
going,
is the
truly son of God.
Yeah.
This man is the son of God.
Oh, you mean the story that didn't happen at all? Yeah, that would have been cool to not watch too. Yeah, sure. Because that's also a story element. But he's just acting like this really happened. You know, that's fine. Yeah,
But
sure.
then part of me
That's
would,
interesting. You go to that moment. That's kind of cool.
but part of me would say, although, yeah, you want to see the resurrection, you want to see the part of me wants to say I would just like to meet him walking along during his ministry and just say, listen, man, I've got 5 minutes.
Yes.
Who are you? Like,
Yes. Are you the real deal?
Messiah?
And then Jesus, who didn't speak English, would be like, not know what the hell you were saying. And also, you would have killed Jesus because your germs would kill Jesus and everybody else around at that time. So that wouldn't be good. Unless, of course, Jesus is God, then he could understand your language perfectly. At which point he'd probably say, well, I am. Who do you say I am? Because he never answered anything straightforward. And he'd be like, well, Alex, I know you have a time machine. By the way, bing, you don't have a time machine anymore. You're stuck back here now. I can't have you telling people that I really exist. I got to have people believe me on faith. You see, without faith, it's impossible to please God. I want people to, if you brought back the proof of me to your present time, then they couldn't please God, idiot. What were you thinking, Alex? Oh, I'm sorry, Jesus. Yeah, get on your knees. Kiss my feet. That's what he'd say. I mean, if we're going to just make up stuff, why not, right?
Are you God? Are you claiming to be God? Like, that's what I'd want to do. I'd want to ask that question. And I mean, where would you go in Jesus' life?
So
5 minutes.
It's so
Is
interesting.
this the rest of the video? It's just them talking about this?
Isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you think of the biblical, so there are a lot of people that did get that chance and did it come exactly for that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You know, say, I mean, one bit you might not have noticed that I really like is John the Baptist's relationship with Jesus. We kind of touched on it, but there's a really nice moment.
No, come on, say something logical. All right, you know, that's it. I'm done. No, I can't take any more. All right, so Alex has left the building of logic and reason and skepticism. Once upon a time, he called himself Cosmic Skeptic, rebranded himself, still named Cosmic Skeptic on YouTube. Perhaps it's time to change that name because you're not a skeptic anymore, Alex. I don't know what you are, but you're not a skeptic. You're not allowed to say the word skeptic anymore. I am going to trademark skeptic so that you can only use it if you're an actual skeptic. And you're not doing skepticism at all. You're playing what if, you know, if we could go back in time and see Jesus, well, that would be so cool, blah, blah. Yeah, no, I mean, just what I don't know. But, I mean, this gets people happy and excited, you know, gets the people that believe in Jesus on Alex's side, you know. And like I said, hey, there's money to be made there. Now, James Apperson, if you know that guy, listen to him, had this thing about Alex. Is Alex going to turn to the side of Christianity for a paycheck or whatever? And it's like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, you know, if you don't care about logic and reason or anything, and you just are there to make money, there is money to be made in religion. There's money to be made in selling woo. There's money to be made in taking religion seriously, quote unquote. And maybe he's playing 5D chess and he's like, I'm saying all this bullshit so you listen to my arguments against Christianity. Maybe. But I don't know. I don't take religion seriously. I just don't. I don't take the mythology seriously. I don't take fairy tales seriously. I don't take the claims made seriously because those are just claims. The seriousness that I will take is if you had a sound argument. If you have an argument, we gotta see if it's sound. We gotta analyze it, find out. And what I have seen through my time doing this channel is, again and again, apologists do not have a sound argument. I don't know why, but they don't. As far as any test that we could run on God or Jesus, there is none. None at all. Well, what about empirical evidence? Well, we don't have that. Jesus is in history, lost to history, covered by myth and mythology, covered by writings and tradition. If there's a real Jesus, we can't know anything about him. And I don't really see a reason to care if there was a real Jesus or not. I don't really believe that there was. I don't know. I mean, I go back and forth with that. It's like, maybe, but I can't know anything about him. You don't need him to start everything off. So whatever. But I don't care anymore. I just don't care if there was a Jesus. Yeah, all right. So there was a guy that said stuff that people believe. Big deal. He didn't do any of the things that they claim he did. Because the supernatural stuff, that's not true. How do you know that? Well, because it's never been shown to be a thing. No miracle has been shown to be a thing in the modern day. We've never seen a miracle produced on demand. And if we can do miracles on demand and see them and test them, then we'd have something. But the whole point of a miracle is you can't explain it, which means that the whole way of identifying a miracle is nothing more than an appeal to ignorance. Great. So there's no way to prove any of it. Cool. Nice story. God could have come into this hangout, told me I'm wrong, didn't do it. Many times I've put the lobster on my head and or hand and told God, hey, make this thing levitate. Hasn't happened yet. Won't ever happen. If there was a steel cube under a very protected glass and everybody in the entire world prayed and thought and wished and hoped that steel cube would levitate, the damn thing won't move. I don't care what God you pray to or Satan or devils or angels or anything else. It won't budge because the paranormal, the supernatural, when tested, fails every single time. Every time. Oh, but I was in a crash and I survived thanks to Jesus. You survived because you got fucking lucky. What about the person who doesn't survive? Does that mean there isn't a Jesus then? Why Jesus? Why not Hindu? Why not Shiva the Destroyer? Maybe they saved you. No, it's just nothing there. So there was no logic here, Alex. None. No logic. No anything. No reason to take Christianity more seriously or to say it's more plausible than ever before. It's just a story that you're interested in, Alex, I guess. You're into the story. Cool. But it's just a story. I like Iron Man. I like Endgame. I like those stories. I like Star Trek. But it's just a story. Don't get so deep into it that you begin to believe it's real. Because that isn't skepticism. Now, if you believe in God, okay, I understand that. People do. And that belief is one that is due to a number of psychological factors. And I can't tell you to stop believing. I could, but it's not going to, have you tried being an atheist today? Have you tried to stop believing in God for the day? Just for the day. Just don't believe in God today. And then tomorrow you can believe in God. No, that's silly. That's nonsense. I've had people tell me to pray and try to believe in Jesus, or God. But I'm not going to tell people to do the opposite because it doesn't make sense. You can't just turn it off nor can you just turn it on. The beliefs we hold are ones we have to be willing and able to challenge. And maybe, for all I know, there's something in your brain that prevents you from challenging X idea. I don't know. And if there is, then, well, then there's nothing you can do. It's just like, well, that's a thing. I believe in it. And that's that. Cool. But you can be honest enough to say that and say, yes, it's just a faith. I just believe in it. I don't know why. I know someone that does that. They're a really cool person. I may have talked to them a few times on this channel. You know, if you know, you know. They're also a giant, incredible nerd. But again, if you know, you know. But at any rate, all right. Whew, hey, I told you we'd be here 3 years, and we've only been here an hour. So they got a lot of comments over here that I was not paying attention to while I was ranting. So let me go look at the comments. Oh my God, so many comments. What did I miss? Holy hell. Nitty creationism is like constipation. It takes a while for it to come out. A whole day even. Yeah, I mean, you know, it took God an entire day to make the universe, but then like several days to make parts of the earth or whatever. I don't know. It's really weird. Let's see. Computational theist. Why are you crying? I don't know that I wasn't crying. That's a loaded question. That assumes I was crying. At no point did I cry during this video or hangout. You always bitch. Whenever an atheist considers Christianity plausible. Well, hold on. Let me pause there. I always bitch? Really? Every time? Do you know this for a fact? Have you kept track of all my work this whole time and I never knew until just now? That's amazing. You would know that. Then if they convert, you start farting and bitching. Yeah, I mean, it's content. I'm covering Alex because it's content. And Alex was reasonable and logical in parts, and now he's being non-logical. That's what I'm bitching about. He can be a Christian all he wants. I don't care. I don't know about farting. Bitching, yeah, absolutely, I'm bitching. But also I'm examining the illogic of it, which there was on display here. At no point did Alex give any logical reason to consider Christianity more plausible than it was before. They just seem to really like the stories. Him and Bear really like the stories about Jesus. That's not a logical reason. You can call it bitching all you want, but where's your argument? Why didn't you get excited when who the hell is that? I don't know who that is. And why say village atheists? Like, why introduce village into that? Like, are you trying to poison the well against atheists in some way, shape, or form? Why do that? Like, did I say something mean about theists? Well, probably, but you know, I don't know. You guys are supposed to be nice. We're supposed to be mean. He was known as debater, pirate, earth deconversion, whatever. Oh yeah, no Bible equals tons of illiterate adherents with no opinion, no true conviction in practice, monopolized tradition equals potential for BS. Yes. The initial growth that they're talking about did happen, but Christianity was very, there was a lot of disagreement. That's why Paul was able to come and do what he did. That's why other people were able to come and settle it and say this is doctrine and this isn't. And what do you want me to clarify? No, that question mark was in regards to whatever the hell happened in the video, not to you, just to, let you know. James Apperson, every time I listen to Christians Christianizing, another brain cell dies for their sins. Oh, that's not good. New age is a misdemeanor, like new atheists. There's always been age. That I did see, and I laughed. Happened to see that comment. How would you falsify that version of Churchill? Yeah, exactly. If we had a completely made up story about Churchill and that's all we had, there'd be that would be that. And then this guy comes in. Hi, web expert. I know who you are. A lobster is a lobster, of course, and nobody can talk to a lobster. Blaster master, hi. Webmasters hawking a book again. We did it. We covered this book. Everybody buy Unapologetic. And I gotta go dig out that link. Let's go dig that out. Let's find it. Where the fuck is it? Oh God, there's so much content I've done. Book. There we go. I found it. Oh, I'm awesome. Okay. No. Oh my God. Why did I yell at the start? What am I thinking? Here's the book. Put that in the links. Still reading comments. I'm catching up. I'm almost there. Let's see. Can you prove using empirical science that slavery is wrong? Why? Why? Oh, I guess compositional theists heard me say something about empirical evidence, repeatable tests, and so they thought, aha, can you prove that this thing is wrong using this method? Yep, I can. Thanks for asking. All right. Anyways, how do you measure harm? Now he's just asking people questions. Catch me up on what Alex said. Alex said stuff that made no sense. There you go. Let's see. Do you think militaries are war? I don't know. Compositional is just on his own little thing. Keep finding. Yeah. Yeah. Ron Wyatt found it. Yeah. Ron Wyatt found all the evidence. I wouldn't waste the opportunity to go back in history just to confirm that Jesus died. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to wash cars as a living, but if forced to do it by circumstances, I'll do it. Huh? What? I don't know. They're just trying to calculate time of solar eclipse. Could have happened at that time the crucifixion. Yeah, I mean, it seemed like that might be what's going on, but it wasn't a solar eclipse. It was a lunar eclipse. So I don't know. I mean, that the moon turns blood moon red, and that maybe happened according to NASA on the 33rd AD. Sure. But that only kind of fits some stories and some parts of some stories and doesn't fit the other parts of the other stories. So it doesn't do what the believer would need it to do. But even if it did, and there was a solar eclipse, and we knew that there was a solar eclipse, that still doesn't prove that the events happened. It just means that they wrote the story and said, yeah, and there was a solar eclipse. Just like, in Spider-Man, they base it in New York. You can put fiction in real places, or I guess I could have gone with the Iron Man again. He's in New York, Anyways, let's see. Blood Moon comes from Reason Patcher Report Pilot, part of the New Testament Archipelago. Yeah, so it's not even that. Let's see. Anything that was directed at me or I don't think Alex is going to become a Christian. I don't know. He might be like a New Age Christian or something, like where it's like loose Christianity. I don't know. I mean, who knows what he'll do. It's just all I know is that he had bad logic here. Let's see. Yeah, that might be it. He might just be playing as the wind blows. He's talking to a Christian, so he's going to be friendly to him. That might very well be. I don't know. I can only speculate, by the way. All my stuff about what Alex will or won't do, that's pure speculation. All I can really address for sure is that he didn't have any logic in this video. That's for damn sure. And that he was taking religion seriously, whatever the hell that means. These are things I just object to as a skeptic. I just don't take it seriously. I would if you had evidence, then I'd take it seriously, sure. But taking something seriously is irrelevant, by the way, when you're doing analysis. Whether you take it seriously or not is irrelevant, because either it's going to be true or not. That's it. It's either going to be real or it's not going to be real. There is no that my feeling about it's going to change. Well, if your feelings do interfere with your analysis, that could be a problem for sure. Let's see. I have linked the book. Okay. Let's see. Okay. And then I'm almost there. Your book is garbage. My book? My book? Which one? Why is my book garbage? I didn't even promote my book. Which one? Why is it garbage? Which part of it is garbage? I take great pride in my book. Here's my book, by the way. Since he mentioned it, now I got to pull up my book. Caught between an infinite hope and finite despair. There's one of them. Then I've got three. I've got two more. Okay, and I've got Logic and Morals, which, by the way, that book will answer your question about slavery. And, it will give you a logical reason. And if logic is part of science, then it gives you the answer there. And then I've also got another book, The Lightbringer, which is the only book I wrote that's not true. It's fiction, but it's also true because it's the real story of Satan. So, yeah, those are my books. So which one is garbage? And how does that and what kind of argument is that? Like, I would love to know. So please, by all means, tell me. And I guess that means you've read it. So I look forward to your analysis on your channel. The one you posted on the live chat. Oh, you mean the book that isn't mine? Oh, okay. You mean this book? Unapologetic Why Apologists is Anti-Science, Anti-Christian, and Anti-God. That's not my book. That's my brother's book. Now, if you want to say that that's garbage, well, you're going to have to fight with him. But you're also going to have to fight with me because you're going to have to prove that statement. Did you read the book, Computational Theist? If you didn't, how can you say that it's garbage? I mean, you could say anything is garbage. I'm not sure what garbage is. I mean, that's kind of a subjective thing. If you mean to say that it's in error in some way, shape, or form, cool, sure, point it out. What logical fallacies does it perform? What factual points? I guess Garbage Bros is the proper name. Okay, Computational Theist. And do you have an argument for this? Have you read the book? What did it say that you disagree with and why? What's your position? Hey, you know what? Tell you what, I normally don't do this. Normally I tell people to email me and set up a day time. But here you go. Join me live right now and debate me on this book being garbage. I challenge you. Now, go ahead and run away. I know you will. Or come up with some excuse. Maybe your mom won't let you use the computer microphone or something. I don't know. If we're going to just insult each other, I can do it too, debate. Yeah. What valid and sound argument do you have for this book being not good? Like, did you read the book? That would be the first question. I mean, if you haven't read the book, then I don't know how you say it's garbage or how you make any evaluation if you haven't read the book. So you have to answer that question. Did you read the book? Yes or no? Then after that, then you can go into your argument on which parts of the book are wrong, logically speaking, factually speaking, theologically speaking, however you want to do that, go ahead. Now, I know you won't come in to talk about it. I know that because I know the sort of person that you are. I know that you won't come talk to me ever because I know the sort of person you are. How do I know that? Well, I don't, but I can just say it because it sounds good, doesn't it? Let's head to the comment section. We'll play it out here. Right. And on the third day, you will hear a chicken balk 3 times, knowing that you could have debated Deconverted Man, but you ran away. Brave Sir Robin ran away. Away, away, away. Bravely ran away. Bravely ran away. Bravely ran away. He doesn't think all kinds of slavery is wrong. Wow. You're just evil. Okay. Anyways, bravely ran away. Computational theist has no argument. No argument at all. Where's your argument? Waiting for the logic. Where is it? He doesn't have it. I'm singing. I don't know why. Why did I start singing and how do I stop? Oh my. Anyways. Yeah, I agree. It's a very sad and fucked up thing to think that some version of slavery is fine. I agree. You know, I don't think that slavery is good. But sure, whatever, you know, computational things. Let's go to their channel, shall we? Let's see. How do I do that? Let's see. Well, if I click on it here, I'll wind up banning him. Don't want to do that just yet. I mean, I might ban him. Don't know. We'll see. I don't think so. Hopefully not. I don't like banning people. Hey, shut up, me. Don't know. Stop talking to me. Okay, where is it? Let's see. I gotta. It's okay if I do it. Let's see. Go to channel. Let's check out the channel here. Oh man, this is an amazing channel, everybody. Let me show you his channel. Oh wow! Look at this. It's amazing. Wow! Look at all that content he's got. Oh, wow. He's been around since 2018. He's got 31 subs. Wait, but where? Huh? No content? You know what? I think we should all subscribe. I really do. I think we should subscribe to him right now. You guys want to help him out? I think we should. Let's subscribe to his channel. I feel 31, that's a low number. Let's subscribe to this guy and wait for him to eventually produce content, because it will be interesting. Whatever he produces, I'm sure will be valid and sound and full of good arguments, and not just your book is garbage, bro, and you know, whatever. You know, I'm sure that whatever he has to say, it will be amazing once he makes content. Yeah, sure, he's been around years and he had all that time to make content. I'm not saying you can't use YouTube if you don't make content, but I'm also saying, like, if you don't make content, it's kind of like, dude, like, I thought you were supposed to, like, tell people the reason for the hope that you have and stuff, you know? But I don't know. You know, maybe he doesn't have a microphone. Hey, tell you what, I'll give you a microphone. Yeah, I will send you a microphone. Of course, you'd have to send me, like, an address or whatever, you know, or somewhere to send the microphone to, that you, like, a P.O. box or whatever, somewhere to, or, like, I mean, like, there might be another way to get you a microphone so that you could do it. Like, I'll get you a webcam too. Sure, why not? You know, I don't have a computer. Tell you what, I will buy you a laptop, a webcam, and a microphone so that you can come and debate me. You still wouldn't debate me, even if I bought you all that. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't. Anyways, you're not a YouTuber. Well, but you are, because you're here. That means you are a YouTuber by definition. If you're on YouTube and you have a name, you are a YouTuber, even if you don't make content. But yeah, I mean, I guess you're not a producer of content. But yeah, what kind of slavery is okay? I'd like to know that too. Yeah, I'm also interested in that. But it's interesting he didn't come in here. Maybe he missed the link. Let's try again. You know, we're going to keep doing this until I get tired of making the offer. Well, I don't know. Yeah. Alu Aksbara. I finished computing all the time. Okay, so he's Islamic, I guess. But why was he complaining about Christianity earlier? Like, who cares if you're Islam, if you're like a Muslim guy, who cares about Christianity? They're wrong anyways. You guys have the real religion, or is that like just you being a troll and weird? Like, I don't understand. Like, and like, so we're computational theorists. We need something from you. You were asked a question about what kind of slavery is okay, because you said earlier, or you wrote earlier, that some versions you're okay with or whatever. I mean, we just have to guess because he doesn't have any. He didn't even write like an about on his YouTube, you know. So we literally know nothing about him other than what he tells us in chat. I'm still waiting on his argument for why that book is garbage, but he never said that. He never gave that. Yeah, Blankster's given up. He doesn't. Yeah, I mean, I understand your frustration. You know, maybe give him a little bit, give him a couple minutes to type, because some people are really slow typers. Maybe he's on a phone and he's typing with messages. Some versions of slavery, such as debt slavery and enforcement of war prisoners or thieves, is allowed. Okay, well, allowed isn't the same as being good. You were asked a moral question of why that's good. Like, being allowed, being legal doesn't mean it's moral necessarily. Yes, I'm typing on my phone. Alo Akabar. Okay, so so guys, remember I said I might ban him? I mean, here's what I'm going to do, compositional theist. If you do Allah Akbar one more time, you're banned. Okay? So let's not do that. Instead, give me your argument that's sound for why that book is garbage. Okay. See? He couldn't help himself. Goodbye forever. Goodbye. Congrats. Oh, you're banned forever and dead to me because you didn't have an argument. Don't you see? All you had was bad logic. You're just a troll. That's all you were. And now you're gone. That's how it goes. Goodbye. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Until next time, be a skeptic. And after next time, stay a skeptic. I'm going to keep singing now. Bye. Goodbye. It's time to say goodbye. Good night, everybody. Blankster was here. Blaster Master, Web Expert, oh dear. Computational theist had no argument at all. He just was a troll, that's all. B.S. Lewis was really cool. Remember that time I ended the stream? Oh my, oh my. And wait, I'm not done yet. Oh my, oh my. Oh my.